Hey everybody, this is Perch, and news out of kind of U.S. Japan. I don't know, combination. But here's a weird thing: this isn't new news. So over New York City Comic Con weekend, the story broke in a number of different places. That Viz Media was going to basically they announced that the Yu-Gi-Oh creator Kazuki Takahashi is working on a new manga for Shueisha as part of the Marvel Comics license. And the name of this manga is called Secret Reverse, and it features a Spider-Man and Iron Man and quote other people. Villains, presumably. I'm not sure, but anyway, they travel to Japan to battle an evil gaming, uh, you know, villainous human demon, whatever, and his deadly new technology. So some kind of evil, evil something coming out of there. So obviously, Takahashi, who is well known in Japan and kind of manga circles, Yu-Gi-Oh! Obviously, if you're in the U.S., you've heard of that property. Certainly has done incredibly well. Shueisha, who, if you haven't been living under a rock, is a publisher of Shonen Jump, and has been doing more and more kind of with Marvel Universe. But this isn't a new story. It actually broke back in 2019, and Secret Reverse was the first of what was the first one shot in a series of collaborative one shots. Shueisha obviously has had the Deadpool kind of mashed up with My Hero Academia, and this is there's going to be more collaboration. Now, Takahashi is a huge name, and obviously that signals kind of I don't want to say a shift exactly, but it definitely signals a sign that Japan is wanting to take the Marvel license certainly very, very seriously. Now, Marvel characters, certainly through the movie, but just even before that, have always worked well in Japan. When I say worked well, I mean the characters themselves, but obviously the idea of selling kind of US comics over there has not particularly worked well. But the brand itself is fine. It's often showcased in Japan as not kind of the big dominant brand on the street, but rather something that can hang with the dominant brands that are in Japan, like One Piece and like titles like that, One Punch Man and My Hero Academia and books like that. So it's been much more of a friendly kind of this is all one big world. There are others certainly one shots that will be published. We've seen Deadpool already. There's a while back they talked about the Halloween Avengers and kind of a more kid like versions of the Marvel Universe. Definitely, all of these are, more. What do I want to say? They're the Marvel Universe, the MCU versions of the characters. They aren't, they're not playing with characters that really haven't appeared on the big screen. But Takahashi is known as a great storyteller. Certainly known as somebody who brings a lot of credibility to comics, to manga, to everything else. And Takahashi's pages, as we've seen them, look very impressive. They look like they're kind of right out of Western type comic storytelling, but certainly with a manga bend to it. So, and we're hearing from more and more creators over in Japan who talk about really wanting to take the Marvel characters and Marvel IP and properties and run with them. And this is, including Murata-san and Koei-san and others who are pretty big names over in Japan really wanting to play in the Marvel Universe. So what does all this mean? Well, first off, you certainly can go and see some of this if you head over to, if you go looking about this on the internet, you can find these pages up there. As I mentioned, this came out in 2019. The thing that's kind of confusing me, and I've been trying to figure out why, is this just started to make news now. Now, obviously, Viz being able to kind of publish them back in the U.S. so people can see them, and Secret Reverse will come to the U.S. in summer of 2022 through Viz. But this opens up the whole question of if the license works very well over in Japan, and these titles largely have, and then, they're able to kind of get some really top name creators on there. And Takahashi, who did Yu-Gi-Oh, is a top name creator, and that's a pretty big deal. All right, so if the comics are able to go over there, have this life over in a completely new market, and then make their way here, 3 years later via Viz and get printed and presumably do well. The interesting part is Viz is likely to publish these, direct to a much larger market. Viz has a really good foothold right now in Target and Walmart and some of the other big chains, in addition to what they ship to the direct market. So you kind of start to wonder, is this Secret Revenge book that's got Iron Man and Spider-Man, obviously very recognizable characters in the U.S., when this comes out in the U.S. in 2022 in the summer, how will it do? It's highly likely that this book winds up selling, far better than most of the Western comics, which is crazy. So again, so what's this comic about? Well, the basic synopsis, to go into a little bit more detail, is this. Peter Parker and Tony Stark are visiting the Japan Game Show, maybe the Tokyo Game Show, but maybe they didn't have the rights to it. Who knows? Peter is accompanied by Marasu and Hiromi, who is also the daughter of KO, the CEO of KO Company. KO Company has created a popular card game. Amazing that the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh! Would think of a card game blot, but that's fine. Named Secret Reverse, and they're holding a basic, stage event. And suddenly, they decide to level up the card game, bring infinite possibilities, invites Masaru and Tony onto the stage to try out the new machine. And basically, they play a game in front of everyone. But the machine, goes amok. The Death Owl machine, which is pretty much, you can assume that's going to turn evil, runs amok. Tony just tries to destroy it, but there's innocent civilians there, and then basically through this card game, and then this machine and everything kind of that goes crazy. Spider-Man and Iron Man are able to kind of defeat the evil plot and stop the game, stop the threat to the world and to the civilians and everything else. So it's it's crazy. I mean, it's almost it's a classic kind of manga type thing, and you can, as I said, you can search for it pretty easily and read the whole manga. You might have trouble finding it translated, but even Shonen Jump Plus, you can go find it there as well, depending on the region. You may have to do a little bit of work, but you can get to this. The thing that strikes me about all these collaborations is definitely it's Japanese style artwork, very, very familiar to manga users, but it also carries with it a lot of action and energy that that basically I think will appeal quite well to U.S. fans. In addition to that, we also have the Nao Fuji's Marvel Meow, and this was comic strips that were run on Marvel's Instagram page earlier, and this is Captain Marvel's cat Chewie. Wreaks havoc in the lives of a lot of Marvel's characters, including Spider-Man, Iron Man, Thanos, Galactus, Deadpool. All have to run amok with this cat. And this book actually came out in February of 2020, did incredibly well over there. The Deadpool Samurai manga, which again you can easily go out and look, that launched on Shonen Jump Plus last year, and that's done quite well. So they are, and there's a number of other Marvel collaborations that debuted in 2019 and 2020, and you can check those out. And they're going to slowly make their way over here. Regardless, what does all this mean? It means that Marvel is getting the characters in the IP are getting a very strong life over there. You look at what DC is doing with Webtoon and the fact that they're getting kind of artists and creators who are Webtoon friendly in Korea in some cases to create these comics. And you're seeing people create new worlds, new stories, new adventures outside the US, outside the typical publishing medium, and do extremely well with it. I think, if I'm looking at the numbers correctly and everything else, that Marvel Meow, this story about the cat screwing with all the Marvel characters, actually did better than almost every other book that came out that month. But it's hard to compare a region in Japan to the U.S. It's not apples to apples. It's definitely some differences there. But I guess the question I have is, at what point does Marvel just kind of hand over more licenses to Shueisha? Say, go nuts. The creators seem exceedingly hungry to do some stuff with it. The stories are I would say certainly not deep in continuity. They're very surface level. It very much feels like a licensed comic from a licensed property and nothing, dramatically serious. But if these books are pulling in the kind of numbers that they seem to be pulling in, I mean, if you're Marvel, it's like, why are we banging our head against the against the wall on some of this other stuff when, these books do quite well? And again, if you're in the U.S., you may be going, what's the big deal about having a guy named Takahashi, take a crack at a Marvel Universe book? Well, again, a creator of Yu-Gi-Oh, pretty big deal over in Japan. I mean, the equivalent would be if I don't know who would be the person here. It'd be like if many years ago Jack Kirby's like, I'm gonna work with Rumiko Takahashi and do some Ranma 1/2 in Kirby style, which by the way would absolutely rock. But that's kind of the what you've got, and that's why it's making a lot of waves in Japan. That's why it's potentially doing well. And this book, assuming it's following what Viz is doing with distribution, has the potential to be huge over there. But anyway, that's the deal. Secret Verse actually has been out. If you're seeing the news headlines like, hey, what's this new thing? Not new, 2019. You can actually go find it online. Go check it out. Is it the best story? No, far from it. But it fits the bill pretty well and did pretty damn good over in Japan. So check it out. Is this stuff you're interested in? Would you like to see more Marvel properties handled this way? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, of course, and thanks for listening.